Okay, so page 2 is here. Okay, the best of these, I believe, is John. Okay, so I don't want to go too far ahead. Let's just consider what our assignment is. Okay, so it says, another way of talking about this is to ask whether artificial intelligence is in fact possible. That is to say, whether computers, robots are intelligent, can think independently outside a set of prescribed rules and algorithms. We'll examine below the different answers to this question given by artificial intelligence experts and philosophers. Turing's argument for the computer soul. Okay, so this is what your homework was, to analyze Turing's argument trying to justify that a computer can have a soul. So here is his argument. He begins with what's called a theological objection, and that is, thinking is a function of man's immortal soul. God has given an immortal soul to every man and woman, but not to any other animal or to machines. Hence, no animal or machine can think. This is a false statement, but it sounds correct. And he's using the incorrect understanding of the soul of the Christians. And he's weaponizing it. He's making a weapon to defeat, to prove that the computer can develop a soul and equal to a human being. Okay, now you read your explanation. Yeah. Okay. Turing is setting up a straw man argument. Does anyone know what a straw man argument is? Krishna, you know? Here's the idea of a straw man argument. If someone makes the form of a man out of straw, right? Now all you have to do is go like this, and you can blow it over. You make it fall down because it's just straw. Go ahead.
A straw man argument is when a person sets up an argument that he will knock down later on, like you can easily knock down to help you in your argument.
Yeah, to win the argument. Okay, go ahead.
So the theological objection is a straw man argument, which was posed by Turing. A straw man argument is an informal fallacy based on refuting an opponent's argument, while the argument is not actually from the opponent.
It's not actually what?
It's not actually from the opponent. In other words, a straw man argument is a weak argument, cleverly established to be put down.
So in other words, in order to defeat another person, you say something, that you assume something
that they wouldn't say,
that they did not say.
Yeah.
But you say it in such a way that everyone thinks it's part of the argument.
Yeah. Right. So, in this false argument, Turing states that God has given an immortal soul to every man and woman, but not to any other animal or to machines.
Now, this is what Christians believe.
Yeah.
You see?
In this statement, two wrong things have been done. First of all, Turing has said that animals do not have souls, which is false. Secondly, by his way of wording, Turing has basically equated animals and machines because they both don't have the quality of thinking, according to his statement. And
see, that's the point. In other words, he very subtly said God gave a soul to every man and woman, but he didn't give it to an animal or to a machine. So he brings the machines into the argument by equating them to animals. And Christians don't believe animals have souls. That's their mistake. That's actually incorrect. So, but most people, Turing knows, he's born in a Christian country, England, and he's always been he's been an atheist for a long time, and he knows how to defeat the Christians. So he weaponizes the Christian's mistake about the soul to help him win this argument. Go ahead.
So
Weaponize means he makes their misunderstanding a weapon against them.
So basically, he has equated animals and machines because they don't have the quality of thinking. And as he has stated above, thinking equals to the ability to have a soul.
Yes.
So then, the next
So that was, see, Turing begins his, let's say, strategy to prove that computers have a soul by raising what's called a theological objection. What is a theological objection? Anybody know? Theological objection. Krishna.
Theological is like religion.
Yes.
Objection to religion.
No, well, no. What he's saying is the religionists, the Christians, would make this argument against computers having a soul. He's taking the position of the Christians. The Christians would say, look, God gave soul to man and woman, but he didn't give it to animals, and he's not going to give it to computers. Right? So a Christian believes that everything comes from God, and that he only gave a soul to men and women. And the symptom of a soul is that they can think independently outside of prescribed rules and algorithms. What is an algorithm? You know what an algorithm is, Divya? Steps to what? Yeah, it is a, let's call it a computer program that can do a specific thing, step by step. And it can solve problems in a specific, let's say, set of given conditions. And this is what people do. They when you're a computer architect, computer architects are very highly paid people. They're very, very intelligent men and women, and they come up they invent these algorithms by which it could be for accounting, it can be for scientific work, it can be for finding a restaurant on the internet, through the internet, that you want to go to and so forth, or how to buy a house. There's thousands, infinite number of algorithms that people develop. And once you develop it, you can become very, very wealthy, if it can solve problems. Okay, so he's saying that the computer should be able to think independently outside a set of prescribed rules and algorithms. In other words, the computers are controlled by these algorithms. Right? But for the computer to have a soul, it would have to be able to think independent of these algorithms, because the algorithms are strict ways that the computer can not think but react to input. Go ahead. So he sets up the theological objection. This is what a Christian would say to object to the idea that a computer can have a soul. Okay?
Yeah. So then he states his rebuttal to the objection.
So now he's going to, because the theological objection he stated is actually a straw man argument. It's actually, he's going to defeat it now with a rebuttal. Rebuttal means you defeat something. You answer the question by defeating it. Go ahead.
So he says, it appears to me that the theological objection implies a serious restriction of the omnipotence of the Almighty.
So what does that mean?
So what it basically means is that he's saying that the Christians are limiting God by saying that he cannot give a soul to a machine.
Exactly. So one time I was on television program where there was a Muslim and a Sikh and a Buddhist, and then myself. I was supposed to be representing Hinduism. So the Muslim, the Sikh, and the Buddhist, all three agreed that God doesn't have a form. And I disagreed. So they said, well, why do you say God has a form? I said, well, first of all, I looked at the Muslim. I said, you just insulted Allah. He said, what? What do you mean I insulted him? How do you know? You're not even a Muslim. I said, no, you just insulted Allah. You're saying that Allah doesn't have a form, but you have a form. Therefore, you just insulted Allah because you made him inferior to you. And they were, they were like shocked, and this is exactly what Turing is doing here. This was his straw man argument. The Christians say that animals don't have a soul. God didn't give it to them. So they're implying that God is limited, that he can't do it. And Turing is saying this is a serious restriction of the omnipotence of the Almighty, meaning the omnipotence of God. What does this mean? A serious restriction of the omnipotence. What's omnipotence? Yes, Augustia. All powerful. Yeah. Augustia is our walking dictionary. Walking, talking dictionary. Good. Very good. Okay, go ahead.
So, in this rebuttal, Turing seems to be taking the side of the spiritual people by saying that the theological objection puts a great restriction on the power of God. This is one of his ways of refuting the objection by telling the theists that they are limiting God.
Yes.
So then he says, it is admitted that
It is
admitted that there are certain things that he cannot do, such as making 1 equal to 2. But should we not believe that he has freedom to confer a soul on an elephant if he sees fit?
Okay, see, now he's being very, 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 very clever here. He says, there are certain things that he cannot do, such as make 1 equal to 2. Is that true?
No.
Of course he can do it. Now Turing is doing exactly what he says the Christians have done, limiting the opulence of God. Now, but why does he use that example? He can't make 1 equal to 2. It's a very, very profound, subtle point. Because all scientists admit that mathematics is a perfect science. Physics is not a perfect science. And like anthropology is junk science. They look down. They think that that math and chemistry are real sciences, and everything else is not real science. It's all either speculation or Bollywood, Hollywood stuff. It's not as solid as math. But math is the most solid thing. So, therefore, Turing in his false pride says, God can't make 1 equal to 2. So this is something that God can't do in his estimation. That means he doesn't know anything about God. Then he says, but should we not believe that he has freedom to confer a soul on an elephant if he sees fit? Now, this is the beginning of speculation. And he's a very intelligent man. He says, should we not believe? So whenever you use phrases like that, that means red flag, speculation coming. All right? Whenever they say, suppose that, what if, let's assume that, should we not believe that? These are all, attention, blah, 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 speculation coming, right? These are the phrases that they use for speculation. Okay, go ahead.
So Here, Turing is saying that it is admitted that there are certain things that he cannot do. He says it is admitted. But who has admitted that God has limitations? He is saying, not anyone else.
Right.
In this way, he's trying to make it sound like everyone is admitting that God has limitations. But that is false. Turing says certain things he cannot do, such as making 1 equal to 2. Wrong. Krishna can do anything that he wants. He's all-powerful, omnipotent. If Krishna wants, he can make 1 equal to 2. So Turing is saying that God has certain limitations, and then says, but should we not believe that he has freedom to confer a soul on an elephant if he sees fit? So he's saying that God has limitations, but should have the power to give a soul to an elephant. But Krishna has already given a soul to the elephant at the beginning of time.
Yeah. And this is what's called a rhetorical question. You know what a rhetorical question is, Krishna? Huh? You forgot. Why did you forget? Not paying attention. Yes, Agastya. What's a rhetorical question?
It's like a question that you don't really need to answer because the answer should be obvious.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, I mean the answer is so obvious that you don't have to answer it. You know. So he's saying, should we not believe that he has freedom to confer a soul on an elephant if he sees fit? So that means he's implying that, if God wants to give an elephant a soul, he can do it. But he can't make 1 equal to 2. So you see what a nonsense he is. He's playing games with your mind by all these ways of talking, clever ways of talking. Go ahead.
So then, lastly, he says, we might expect that he would only exercise this power in conjunction with the mutation which provided the elephant with an appropriately improved brain to minister to the needs of the soul. So, in the previous line, Turing basically stated that God should have the power of giving an elephant a soul. In this statement, he's saying that God would give the elephant a soul when the elephant had a mutation which provided it with an appropriately improved brain to minister the needs of the soul. Basically, he's saying that God will automatically provide the elephant with a soul when it has evolved to the stage where it has the proper brain to foster a soul. This entire statement is incorrect. The elephant already has a soul, and Turing is saying that evolution will allow a body to get a soul. In this statement, Turing is conveniently trying to make the theory of evolution a valid phenomenon in order to support his argument. By using this theory of evolution, he's making God secondary. He is saying that by evolution only will a body get a soul. By conveniently stating that the elephant will get a soul through evolution, he is trying to say that the computer will get a soul through evolution. However, the true evolution is that according to its karma, the soul gets an appropriate body at each lifetime. Mutation creates adaptations of the body, but does not create new species.
A mutation what?
Mutation creates adaptations of the body, but does not
Creates what of the body?
adaptations of the body, but does not create new species. At the beginning of time, Krishna had created 8.4 million species in this material world. Only 1.2 million of what the scientists have discovered.
Okay. When I first read it, I thought there was a little mistake. But actually, there's no mistake, but there's a little ambiguity in the way you said it. But anyway, what's happening here is, Turing is a very brilliant guy. He's not stupid. He's very smart. He's only stupid about understanding Krishna, but he knows how to win arguments. He knows how to mislead people. He knows how to set up straw man arguments. He knows how to confuse things. He knows how to bring in things to his argument that have no relevance to it. So, obviously, if you read this, you can understand Turing completely believes that everything happens by Darwin's theory of evolution. Obviously he does, because he's a Britisher. He's born in England. Darwin is their hero. Darwin is the hero of all the atheists, and the British are the worst atheists in the world. The worst. Because they're very smart, and they bewilder people. So here, what did he do? First of all, previously, he equated the animal to machines to animals, right? Now, in this phrase, we might expect that he would only exercise this power. So in other words, again, he's limiting God. If he did want to give a soul to a computer, he would only do it in this way, by causing a mutation in the elephant. Now, see, this is Darwin's theory. He believes that different species evolve over a long period of time by survival of the fittest and genetic mutations. What's a genetic mutation? What are genes? Yes, Augustia. Huh? Give him a microphone before he chokes.
It's like when the DNA changes a little bit and
When what?
the genes or
The DNA?
yeah, it changes a little bit and then the thing becomes different.
How does it change?
Like it, I don't know.
Well, see, here's the point. Do actually DNA genes change? They can get corrupted, but they don't change. They can get corrupted. Like just like you can get a rusty pair of scissors. Now the rusty pair of scissors, you can't open them or close them because of the rust. But does it stop being a scissor? No. But if you put WD-40, spray it on the scissor, it'll clean off the rust, and then again it works. So did the scissor stop being a scissor? No. So it's the same with DNA. DNA can be corrupted, but it doesn't stop being what it is. And yesterday in the class I gave an example of it. Was anyone in that class? You were not there? You were there? Did you? What? No, last night. Okay. You remember when I started talking about the scientist named Warburg and his theory of cancer? Huh? Yeah. Anyway, Warburg gives an example of how DNA can be corrupted, but it doesn't change the species. It's just like the scissors that get rusty. It's still scissors, but it's not working properly. But it's still scissors, and you can correct it by cleaning the rust off, and then it acts like scissors again. It doesn't. The scissors don't change into a knife. It doesn't become a table or whatever because it got rusty. It just means that it's not working properly, but it's still scissors. Okay, so the Darwinists, the modern Darwinists, they think that species evolve due to genetic mutations. And therefore, the worm becomes a bird, because the genes got scrambled. So what are they doing? They're trying to solve all the problems of life by doing what's called gene mapping. Have you ever heard of that? Did you ever talk about that in school? Anyway, let's say there's a seed, right? And you don't know what kind of seed it is. So you plant it, and all of a sudden you realize it's a banyan tree. So from that little seed, the banyan tree seed is like this small. All of a sudden, this huge tree comes out. Right? Then there's another seed, and you don't know what it is. You plant it, and it is a rose bush. It doesn't get to be as big as the banyan tree. It doesn't hardly not even 1/100th or 1,000th the size of a banyan tree. So you see, every seed has a lot of inherent information in it, right? It's like a computer program. So one is programmed to be a rose bush, the other one is programmed to be a banyan tree, another one is programmed to be a squash. So that means that there's information in that seed, and it's specific. Each seed has its own algorithm, process, how it evolves. So how does the rose bush become a banyan tree? Well, the Darwinists would say there's some mutation of the genes, and now it's become a banyan tree. This is nonsense. It's not true, but that's their theory. So why does Turing bring in this mutation? He would say, if God were to give an elephant a soul, he would only do it by a mutation. Why is he saying that? Krishna? No, it has nothing to do with it. Go ahead, Krishna. No. Yes. See, this is where I thought you got a little bit mixed up. And your explanation is excellent, but there's a little ambiguity here that you have to understand. Go ahead. Yeah, what he's doing is he's going to say, look, there is no God. It's only the theory of evolution that we have. We don't need God, That's what he's doing. And he did it in a very clever way. I mean, it's hard to even imagine how smart this guy is. You see, he's a very, very brilliant guy, but he's a nonsense. So in a short little paragraph, this man is proving there's no God. He's making fun of the Christians and their nonsense theories, and he's giving a solid argument for Darwinism, for evolution of species without God involved in it. When he says, we might expect that he, meaning God, would only exercise this power in conjunction with a mutation, which provided the elephant with an appropriately improved brain to minister to the needs of this soul. You see, this guy is dangerous because he's so smart, right? He's a very dangerous person. And in a short paragraph, he's completely devastated the Christians and belief in God and established very strongly Darwin's theory of evolution. And if you can't figure this out, most people can't figure out what he's done. That's why we're studying this, because this is what the demons do. This is how they win their arguments. This is how they make you believe that everything comes from a big bang, or that there's no God and there's just Darwin's theory of evolution and so forth. And they're going to do everything to scare you and bewilder you to believe these things. Like, for example, Tulsi, when her teacher was teaching Darwinism, evolution of species, Tulsi raised her hand and said, I don't think that's true. And the teacher said, what? You don't think what's true? She said, I don't think it's true what you just explained. We got the proof. What are you talking about? And, Tulsi was shocked, I mean, she's only a young girl, right? And the teacher's some big fat demon. And And the teacher said, look at the tail of a, look at the, no, he said, she gave 3 examples. She said, teeth, the tailbone, and there was one other thing. What was the other thing? Huh? What? The thumb, right. He said, this is the proof. We have proof. So he said, that the gorilla has a thumb like a human being and teeth like a human being. And a human being has a tailbone. That means that we came from gorillas or monkeys, And she's scared, and she didn't know what to say. She didn't know what to say. And she's never going to raise her hand again and say, I don't believe this. So, how would we answer that nonsense fat teacher? Okay, so the answer is, where's the proof that the gorilla or the monkey became a human being? There would have to be. Darwin said, when he died, right before he died, he said, "Look, my theory will be proven in the future with fossil evidence, because what is fossil evidence? Yeah, things die, and their body goes in the ground, and usually bones, they don't disintegrate like flesh. They can last for thousands of years, and especially if they're impacted into the soil and protected from the wind and the rain and the air, and the wind and the air, they can be preserved. Or if they're frozen, don't open your mouth. Cover your mouth when you open it. Krishna. So he said, you'll find the evidence in the fossils. And they've never found that evidence. If you read the book written by Sadhuputta and his the other devotee, it's called what is it called? Hidden History of Archaeology. And they proved, with documents and everything, that scientists engage in selective evidence. Write this down. Selective evidence. S-E-L-E-C-T-I-V-E. S-E-L-E-C-T-I-V-E. Selective evidence. Anyone know what that means? Shasta. Yeah, which evidence you want to use and which evidence you don't want to use. So you only accept that evidence that seems to support your theory. And evidence that denies your theory, you reject it. You just ignore it. So they proved that the so-called scientists, archaeologists, biologists, they try and prove Darwin's theory to be true by selectively eliminating any evidence that shows that it's not true, and only accepting those evidences that seem to make it, seem to support it. Yes, Krishna.
But doesn't that mean that they know it's fake?
Yeah, they know it.
Why are they trying to prove it?
Because they make money by proving it. Like, for example, everybody knows that if you smoke cigarettes over a long period of time, you'll get cancer of the lungs. Did everybody stop smoking? Huh? Did the cigarette companies stop selling cigarettes? Why didn't they stop selling cigarettes? Yeah. They know it's bad, but they're making money. So even though the government taxes them, who pays the taxes? Yeah, it doesn't affect the cigarette company. And the government, why didn't they outlaw cigarettes if they know for sure it causes cancer? Why didn't they outlaw it? they're making money off of the taxes. So one cigarette doesn't cost more than like a penny to produce. 1 penny, right? And you know how much they sell a pack of cigarettes? You get 20 cigarettes in a pack. How much they sell it for? $6, $6. How many pennies in $6? 600. So you 20 cigarettes cost 20 cents, right? Now there's the packaging, there's the publicity and all that. So let's say maximum it costs 60 cents, right? Now they're selling it for $6, right? So if something costs 60 cents, how much would you normally sell it for then? You would sell it for, let's say, $1.20. You double your money, right? And then the company that buys it, they sell it for $2.40. But they're selling it for $6. So who gets the difference between $2.40 and $6? In other words, it's $3.80. Who gets that money? The government. So it's a good deal for them. Does the government manufacture anything? Do they have to invest anything? No, they're getting $3.80 pure profit. And the company that buys from the manufacturer, they make 100% profit, and the manufacturer makes 100% profit. Everyone's making a profit. And who's paying for it? No, the consumer. You see. So that's why, even though they know it's bad, even though they know it causes cancer, even though it kills people, they haven't stopped selling it. And the government hasn't stopped it. Okay, so, and the people who believe in, who want to say we all come from monkeys, everything started with a big bang, and after death there's nothing, so there's no God, so there's no judgment, and, whatever you like to do, you can do in this life, eat meat, drink, all that. It's all because of money. Because if you believe after death, there's nothing. We all stop existing. There's no God, there's no spiritual world, there's no judgment. And you only have this life, and you only have this body, there's no soul. So then you become convinced, the purpose of life is sense gratification. And to get more sense gratification, I have to get more money. And if I try and get money by selling drugs, I could get caught and put in jail. So maybe I'll become a computer expert or a businessman or something, and I'll make money, and I have big houses, and I have sense gratification, and I eat whatever I want, and I don't care, and And so you become a consumer if you become an atheist. And you buy things that you don't need out of pride and lust. So therefore there is, Black Friday. You know what Black Friday is? Huh? Yeah, and if people fight each other. Sometimes they kill each other to get into the store first, to grab that 96-inch television or that, they're consumers. What is a consumer? Buys things that they don't need. They're convinced that they need it by publicity. Right? You ever read the book, The Great Gatsby? Well, later on, it'll be required reading in your English course. The Great Gatsby was written by a famous American author in the 1920s. In the 1920s, there was an economic boom after World War I. And people were buying houses, and they were buying this, and they were buying that, and everything was going up, and it became consumer society. People were just consuming things because they had money, and they were just buying and buying and buying. And then there was the big stock market crash in 1928, and many people started committing suicide because overnight they lost everything they had. because they purchased. Well, why is there a crash? Because the value of things goes up so high that it's you can't maintain it anymore. Like, for example, today, let's say you can buy a pound of rice for $1. But because of inflation, this happened in Germany before World War II. The price of you ready? Yeah. The price of rice went from $1 to $10,000. No one could afford it anymore. So there was a crash. Everything crashed.
Why did the price go up?
I'll explain that. We're going to have Guru Puja now. I'll explain that afterwards. It went up because people lost faith in the government. See, like, how much is $1 worth? Huh? Well, you see, $1 buys less today than it could 10 years ago. Why does that happen? Because there's something called inflation. And why is there inflation? Basically, things get more expensive because the people that control those things hold them back. So there's more demand than supply, so the price goes up. And it's done artificially. Sometimes oil is $4, sometimes it's $2.20. It's controlled by the people supplying it. When you can't get enough supply, the price goes up, right? But then there's another reason why there's a total collapse. I'll explain that next. Almost. Is that 5 minutes after? Srila Prabhupada. Anybody want to Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Jaya Bhagavata Sada. Mando Mui Sapatana Mate. Gati Ese Yutamagati Te Prasade Pure Sarva Asa Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare The spiritual master, the only way by which we can attain the pure devotion. By his grace, of course, the ocean of pure suffering, and obtain the mercy. I understand my conscience purified by the word. Perfection fills all desires. The only heart desires it fills my heart with chastisement. Is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic emanate. By him destroy So we'll just finish up now. The question is, why do the price of things go up? And why is there a collapse of the economy? Okay? So the prices go up when there is not enough supply for the demand. So let's say you want to buy some jelly beans, right? And normally they just cost like 50 cents a little box of jelly beans, right? But one day you go into the store and it costs $10 for the same box. And you say, what's going on? They say, oh, there's a tremendous demand for jelly beans, but there's not enough jelly beans. So therefore, the price is going up. So just like oil, sometimes it's $4 a gallon, sometimes it's $2.50 a gallon. It's going up and down according to the supply and the demand. When there's less demand, the price goes down. When there's more demand, the price goes up. But the industrialists who control the supply of oil can artificially make it go up by holding back the supply. Well, they don't deliver because they want to make more money. And because you have to have gasoline in your tank all the time, you're willing to pay more money until it becomes so high that you can't pay it. And then you stop using your car. Okay, so that's why prices go up and down. Now, why is there a crash? Well, when things go artificially up and everybody knows that that's not the real price, it's just artificially has gone up like that, then they stop buying things. And then the prices go down when they stop buying. Right? Then they will buy again. But there are other situations like this. I'm going to explain them. That's called a correction. When everybody realizes that it went up much more than what it's actually worth, then they refuse to buy it. And then it's forced to come down. Now, why is there a crash? The crash happens when people lose faith in the government. Now, the government is guaranteeing the money, but what is like, how much does it cost to make a dollar bill? You know how much it costs?
2 cents,
Not even.
1 cent,
Not even.
1/4 cent.
Very little, like less than 1 cent. And how much are they selling the dollar for? $1. You see. So I'll have to explain this later on. It's called the Federal Reserve Bank. They're the ones who can print money legally in America. So they're printing something that costs less than a penny, and is selling it for 100 pennies. So they make a lot of money, right? And also, they loan money. They don't actually sell it, they loan it. So when a bank buys $1, they have to pay them $1, let's say, and 2 cents. So not only the Federal Reserve is making the difference between, let's say, 1 penny cost for the dollar, and they're making 99 cents. They're also making another 2 cents, because that's the interest they're charging the bank, and then the bank loans you money for 4.5% when you want to buy a house. So the bank makes money. Federal Reserve makes money, but how much is the money worth actually? Like 1 cent. So when people lose faith in the government, now why would they lose faith in the government? Because the only reason why people accept that $1 is worth 100 pennies is because it can buy something, right? But if they lose faith in the government, they lose faith in the money also, and then they refuse to accept the dollar. Like you go to a store, you say, "Here's $1." They say, "We don't accept that. You give us some gold or give us something else. We won't accept the dollar." Why? Because they lost faith in the government. There's nothing to back the dollar up with anymore. It used to be gold, but they canceled the gold standard, and they just say you just have to have faith in the money. But sometimes people lose faith, and they won't accept that type of money. Like that happened in Germany after World War I, and it's happened in other countries also.
Did it happen in the U.S.?
It did happen. 1928 it happened, where they didn't lose faith in the dollar. They just the whole economy collapsed because it had become way overpriced. Everything became way overpriced. There was a huge difference between the real cost of something and the cost at which it was selling. Right? So there was a correction, but in that correction, a lot of people, lost everything they had. It's just like, okay, you buy a Bitcoin. You know what a Bitcoin is? Right? It's a type of money, right? So you buy a Bitcoin, one coin costs you $150, right? But it's all speculation. And then when you want to sell it, because people lost faith in the Bitcoin, now it's not even worth 10 cents. So you lost $140. You lost more than that. You lost almost the whole value, you see, because they lost confidence in the Bitcoin. How much does it cost to make a Bitcoin? It doesn't cost much at all, right? But as long as you believe it has value, you buy it for $140, and as long as people believe in its value, you can sell it for $160, and you made $20 between the cost, how much you paid for it and how much you sold it. But then it could go down to 10 cents because people lose faith in it. So we'll talk more about this. See, what has real value? Food. Everybody has to buy food. Right? What has real value? Water. Everybody has to drink water. Does a car have a real value? Well, yes and no. If there's no gasoline, it has no value at all. Even though you paid $100,000 for the car, if there's no gasoline, you would lose the value of the car. No one would buy a car from you. You try and sell it, you try and give it away. They say, we don't want it, there's no gasoline. You see, so there are many things that determine the value of something. And it can change dramatically. Haribo, always the Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I'll see you tomorrow. I guess, is it tomorrow? Huh? Friday, okay.
Saturday, Sunday we have it 6:30.
7:30.
Saturday, Sunday 6:30, Wednesday and Friday 6:30.
It's only Wednesday and Friday?